His health gave out, and he moved to Florida, leaving Maya with only a few holiday calls and a couple of birthday cards that always arrived late. It was on a chilly morning in October when she first noticed the boy. Couldn't have been more than 10, with alert eyes that saw everything but said nothing. He always chose the farthest booth, his backpack slumped beside him like a heavy shadow, a book open in front of him that he rarely turned the pages of. The first time, he ordered only water. Maya brought it with a napkin and a bendy straw. He nodded his thanks, barely moving. The next day, the same, and the next. At the end of the second week, she knew his routine. He came in at exactly 7:20 a.m., 40 minutes before school started at the nearby elementary. He would sit quietly, sipping his water, glancing occasionally at customers eating plates full of eggs, toast, pancakes. But he never ordered food. He never looked around nervously like someone sneaking in. He just existed in the space like he belonged there, yet kept himself invisible. On the 15th day, Maya brought a plate of pancakes. She told him the kitchen made an extra by mistake. Might as well eat it instead of throwing it away. The boy looked up at her, his face unmoving, but his eyes full of conflict, suspicion, pride, and deep, sharp hunger. She gave him a small smile and walked away. When she returned 10 minutes later, the plate was empty. He didn't look at her, but as she picked up the dish, he whispered thank you. That was the start of something unspoken between them. Every morning after that, Maya brought a different meal. Pancakes, toast and jam, oatmeal when the days grew colder, sometimes eggs. He never asked, never complained, just nodded and ate, his fork moving quickly like he was afraid the food might vanish. A regular customer asked her one day who was the kid she kept feeding. Maya just shrugged, not sure, but he's hungry. Lisa, who worked in the kitchen, warned her not to get attached. Said when you feed one stray, they all show up, and they don't always say thank you. Maya didn't argue. She simply said she used to be hungry too. It was the most she'd ever revealed to anyone in that diner. The boy never gave his name, and Maya never asked. Something in the way he moved, always sitting with his back to the wall, eyes on the door, made her think that questions would only scare him away. She didn't ask. She just made sure the toast was warm, the pancakes fluffy, the eggs not overcooked, and in that small booth by the window for 40 minutes each morning, he had a space where he could breathe without fear. Others began to notice. Some just watched in silence. Others whispered. "Being savior on the clock," someone muttered. "These kids today, always expecting freebies," said another. Maya ignored them. She had learned early that explaining kindness to people who had never needed it was like trying to teach birds to swim. But her manager, Paul, wasn't so easy to brush off. One morning, he called her into his office. He said he had seen her feeding that boy. "We can't afford to give away food. What if others start expecting it?" Maya took a breath. "I'll cover it." "From my tips." Paul raised an eyebrow. "Those tips barely cover your rent." "I'll make it work," she replied, calm but firm. "One meal a day." He sighed. "If it affects your work or if he causes trouble, it ends." "Got it." She nodded, grateful just to keep feeding him. So she began setting aside a few dollars each day, money she'd saved for a new coat or to fix the crack in her ceiling. But the boy never missed a meal. Until he did. On frosty Thursday morning, the booth was empty. She waited. No sign of him. Still, she made his pancakes, placed them down and hoped. But they stayed untouched. Next day, still nothing. Week passed. Still nothing. Lisa said, "Told you, they always leave." Maya didn't reply. She kept making meals for him, just in case. One morning, she noticed a man taking a photo of the empty booth. That night, it showed up on social media. A mocking post. "Charlie's Diner now feeding imaginary kids." The comments were worse. "Free food. Must be a scam. Publicity stunt. Tell that waitress she's a fool." There wasn't one to let strangers get to her. But that night, lying on her couch, her heart cracked a little. Was she just projecting her past onto a kid she barely knew? She opened a box from under her bed. Inside was a photo of her father in his old Navy uniform. Beside it, a worn journal with a passage she had memorized. "Shared my last ration with a boy. Maybe it's foolish. You see hunger, you feed it. That's how you stay human." Next morning, she returned to the diner, resolved. The boy had vanished, but her kindness hadn't. On the 24th morning, everything changed. 4 black SUVs pulled into the lot one by one. Government plates, uniformed men stepping out, stone-faced. Every diner customer froze. Paul emerged from the back, tie crooked, stammering, "Can I help you?" A tall man in full military dress stepped forward. "We're looking for Maya Jenkins." Maya stepped out from behind the counter, wiping her hands. "That's me." The man removed his cap. "Colonel Isaac Rhodes, U.S. Army." He pulled out an envelope. "I'm here because of a promise made by one of our own. A promise to a man named Sergeant Alan Brooks. His son's name was Jacob." Maya blinked. "Jacob, the boy you've been feeding." The words hit her like a wave. Continued. "Sergeant Brooks was deployed overseas. What he didn't know was that shortly after he left, his wife abandoned the boy. Jacob didn't tell anyone. He was scared he'd be taken away. He survived using a small emergency fund his father left. The pieces clicked, the quiet, the watchfulness, the hunger, all made sense. Sergeant Brooks was killed in action 6 weeks ago," the colonel said, his voice tight. "Before he died, he sent us a letter. In it, he asked if anything happened to him to find the woman in the diner who fed his son. He wrote that she never asked questions, never made him feel like a burden, just gave him breakfast." Maya couldn't speak. The colonel stepped back and saluted. So did every soldier in the room, every one of them, for her. The room had gone silent. Even the critics were frozen, shame written on their faces. Maya felt the tears fall. She hadn't just fed a hungry child, she'd preserved a soldier's last hope. Days that followed, the story spread. The same Facebook group mocked her, now praised her. The local news ran her story. Customers left tips with notes. "My daughter is a Marine. Thank you." Paul placed a plaque over Jacob's booth, "For those who serve and those who wait." Veterans, struggling families, single parents, they all came, and no one left hungry. Later, Maya received a letter in a plain envelope. It was from Jacob. "Dear Miss Maya, I didn't know your name before, but I knew your kindness. Morning you saw me, you didn't ask why I was alone, you just made sure I wasn't. My dad said heroes don't wear capes, they wear uniforms, but I think sometimes they wear aprons. Thank you for seeing me." Framed the letter and placed it behind the counter, not for show, just as a quiet reminder. Months passed. Soldiers began visiting the diner, leaving patches, coins, small tokens of thanks. One morning, she found a challenge coin beside her notepad. On one side, the Special Forces insignia, on the other, engraved words. "Always remember." No note, no name. But she knew. 1 year later, Paul changed the sign in the window. It read, "Whoever you are, whatever you can pay, no one leaves hungry." I smiled. Some stories don't end with applause. They end with full plates and second chances. She looked out at the booth where Jacob once sat, the weight of the coin in her apron pocket, and she knew. What we give freely returns in ways we never expect. Story touched your heart? Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who still believes in kindness. Because sometimes the smallest act, a pancake, a smile, a warm plate, can change a life forever.